what we're doing this morning actually plays into names are important. Just for those of you who may not know, my name is Hale Thornburgh, and my friend's name here, my dear friend Sam Kinney. It's valuable to have a name or two, and the work we're going to do today, we sang once before this summer, but we're asked to do it again, and it involves names. But first, a little back information. Starting in 1942, with the World War II getting into full swing, a lot of jobs in agriculture and construction and labor were abandoned by people going into the military and supporting the war effort. Are we okay, Sam? Okay. Just, he's heard me before, so. The United States government and the Mexican government entered into a plan to bring legal Mexican workers to the United States to work in those jobs that had been left available because people went on to join the military or whatever. And the crops had to be planted, crops had to be harvested, the work had to be done, called stoop labor. But the program allowed Mexican nationals to legally come into the United States on a contract basis to work in these jobs. The program was called braceros, which loosely translated is, strong arms. The Mexicans, for the most part, had no idea what it meant, but it sounded good to the US government. The workers would come in on a contract, go to wherever they were assigned, and they could be from California to Florida to every state in the Union. Wherever there was a vacancy for labor, these people were assigned to that area. This started in 1942 and lasted until 1964. But a lot of times the workers, the braceros themselves, didn't want to go back. They wanted to stick around. They were augmented by the, forever it has happened, immigrant population, some of them legal, some of them illegal, to do these jobs. Well, when the contracts were up, the work was finished, part of the deal was that they would be sent back to Mexico. They would be taken by trucks, buses, trains, and sometimes airplanes. Sometimes they were taken voluntarily, sometimes they were rounded up. That may actually sound familiar. Sometimes they were in airplanes. January 28th, 1948, about 10:30 in the morning, workers on the ground and work crews heard an airplane flying overhead, and it sounded funny. It was a DC-3 with a pilot, a co-pilot, a stewardess, and an immigration officer, and 28 laborers being returned to El Centro for either repatriation to Mexico or a new job. The plane sounded funny. The engine was racing. They looked up and saw a white contrail coming out of the wing. This engine was on fire, and the wind fanned the flames to such a heat that it melted the supporting structure of the wing, and it fell off of the airplane, leaving a gaping hole out of which 9 human beings fell to their death. The plane spiraled in, crashed, killing everybody else on board. When it was reported in the newspapers and in the radio services, the pilot, the co-pilot, the immigration officer, and the stewardess were named, but the other 28 people were referred to as deportees. When Woody Guthrie heard that, he lived in New York City at the time, he wrote a poem, a chant about that incident. It wasn't very musical at the time, but in 1958, a young man in New York, Marty Hoffman, wrote a simple tune that was assigned, that he put to this poem, was picked up by Pete Seeger and hence every other folk singer at the time. And it's what the song we know now as Deportees. I first heard it in 1961 or 2 when I was working as a folk singer. And it was a nice song, powerful song. But it didn't mean a whole lot to me till I learned more about it. So what we have today is Deportees. And in it, you'll hear some references. The 28 people have been identified by a man named Tim Z. Hernandez. He wrote a book called All They Will Call You. And it's about those people. He was able to identify every single one, and they are now named in Holy Cross Cemetery in Fresno. But we have here Deportees, as it was known in 1948. The crops are all in, the peaches are rotting, the oranges are piled in their creosote dumps. They're flying you back to the Mexican border, pay all your money and way back again. My father's own father, he waded that river. They took all the money he made in his life. My brothers and sisters came working the fruit trees, took in the truck, and they took down and died. Goodbye to my one, farewell, Rosalita, adios, mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when they ride the big airplane. All they will call you will be Deportees. Some of us are legal, some are not wanted. Our work contract's out, and we've got to move on. But it's 600 miles to that Mexican border. They chase us like outlaws, like rustlers, like thieves. We died in your hills, we died in your deserts, we died in your valleys, and we died in your plains. We died in your trees, and we died in your bushes. Spent both sides of the river, they died just the same. Goodbye to my one, farewell, Rosalita, adios, mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call you will be Deportees. The sky plane caught fire over Los Gatos Canyon. A fireball of lightning is shook all our hills. Who are these dear friends all scattered like dry leaves? The radio says they're just Deportees. Is this the best way we can grow our big orchards? Is this the best way we can grow our good fruit? To fall like dry leaves and rot on your topsoil and be called by no name except Deportees. Goodbye to my one, farewell, Rosalita, adios, mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call
and all